Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Obsessive Compulsive Gaming. I am the Obsessive Compulsive Gamer, and this is my review for Demon's School. Yes, I am particularly late to this video games party, and you have no idea how much I regret that, dear viewers. But don't you worry, I will flick myself in the nose later as punishment. So, just like that beautiful bearded bastard Barry Bertrum, you're probably wondering,
what is this?
Demon's School is a new style tactical RPG, totally not inspired by the Persona games video game. We play as Faye and her misfit companions, who not only have to navigate university life on a mysterious island, but also put a stop to the bloody apocalypse. Sounds rather like my university life. Haha, just with a little bit less initiation rituals into demonic cults. So let's not waste any time. I wasted enough time already, dear viewers. This game released last month, and I'm only getting to it now. Actually, I think I'll give myself 2 flicks in the nose later. Let's review this video game the only way I know how. Badly. And like I have already spoiled for you, dear viewers, I absolutely adored this game, which is actually rather surprising, being that tactical-based RPGs are not my usual favorite genre of RPG. I like RPGs normally that are in the style of the Die Hard movies, or the RoboCop movies, or the Predator movies. Lots of mindless action. And I suppose we better start with the gameplay. But this is a tactical-based RPG like none other that I've ever played before. Not only is it a lot more simple, you can plan your movements out at your leisure and execute all of them at once, but you can also rewind actions. Meaning if you don't like how the fight is going to turn out, well, you can rewind your character's actions to the beginning of that particular phase. Boy, oh boy, was it not lots of fun. All of the characters have their own unique abilities, and there's 15 bloody characters I should mention. So you have lots of choice when you're going into battle against demons, zombies, gangsters, and yes, even cult members. Some characters will be used predominantly to heal and buff your other characters. Some characters will be more action-focused, used to punch and kick the hell out of your enemies. Characters can use magic. Sometimes you can push objects in the environment, like desks and fire extinguishers, to dispatch several foes at once. What I particularly loved about the combat is none of your characters have to level up. Yes, you can gain abilities that you can equip to them, like they're able to push enemies back 2 spaces instead of 1, or maybe your character will have some extra health, but there's no traditional leveling system here at all, so you'll never ever be under-leveled for a particular battle. And even better yet, if you get stuck on a boss or you find yourself dying repeatedly, well, you can just skip the battle altogether, and there'll be absolutely no punishment. None that I noticed anyway. In fact, in my entire 40+ hour playthrough, I think I only skipped 1 boss fight. And that's just because I was being lazy, not because I couldn't get past it, because I could totally get past that boss fight. In fact, if you put that boss in front of me right now, I would take him out with ease. I'm not very good at describing the combat for tactical-based RPGs, but as you can see from the footage here, there's a grid system. Your characters can move a certain amount of blocks. You'll have a preparation phase in which you input all of the moves your characters are going to make. Then you'll have the action phase where they'll execute all of those moves, and so on and so forth. And every single combat encounter will give you some prerequisite to finishing the battle. like taking care of 10 enemies, or taking care of 22 enemies, or taking care of a big scary boss fight without soiling your underpants. You know, the usual stuff. I'm also happy to report that the 15 characters I mentioned earlier are all absolutely delightful. And just like in the Persona video games, you can go on little dates like singing karaoke or fishing or just hanging out, and that'll raise the prerequisite relationship level with certain characters. And you can romance most, if not all, of these characters. And you'll do that by going on dates and then doing certain little side quests. And then eventually, if you're feeling the electricity between the two characters, you might even be able to kiss them. And all of this is presented in such a delightful way. I really enjoyed the art style in this game. Of course, you've got the usual big avatars, which are very nice. You have this kind of pixel style retro graphics for the gameplay. Lots of neon and bright colors. In fact, it reminded me quite a lot of violent giallo horror movies. Not the slasher ones, more the ones that have demons or zombies. In fact, I would love this game developer to make a game of something like Suspiria, or even a new Clock Tower game maybe. I think they could handle that, and I think they would do an absolutely fabulous job with it. Going back to the characters very briefly, just because I forgot to mention something, but I really enjoyed all of the relationships in this game. Most particularly the relationship between Faye, who was our central protagonist, and Namiko, who's actually the first character we interact with in the game. In fact, I enjoyed their friendship and then eventually their relationship so much that Namiko was the only character that I decided to have a romance with. But like I said, you can romance every single bloody character if you want. I just really enjoyed Namiko. How their friendship starts off with a little bit of animosity. Namiko finding Faye more of a pain in the ass than that time that I sat down on a giant cactus, but I really enjoyed seeing how their friendship grew. In fact, I enjoyed that with all of the characters in the game, and they all have their particular quirks and personality traits. If you play Persona or any kind of RPG whatsoever, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The game also had a very impressive central mystery. Just who is behind this mutant zombie invasion? What the hell do they want? Why are they trying to cause the bloody apocalypse? Well, you'll get all of those answers, dear viewer, and some, when you play the game, which, as you probably already guessed, I'm going to highly recommend that you do. What else can I tell you about the game? Oh yes, the soundtrack. The soundtrack is absolutely spectacular. Not a lot of unique tracks, I must say. So you hear certain tracks more than once, more than twice. Hell, probably more than 100 times during your playthrough. But what's here I really enjoyed. I just wish we had voice acting. Yes, I know it's a common complaint of mine in indie video games, but voice acting would have just really pushed this into the upper echelon for me. And if you're going to ask what upper echelon means, I have no idea. Let's move on. So what do we learn from this review? The story? Fantastic. The character relationships? Fantastic. The gameplay, and I never thought I would say this about a tactical-based RPG, fantastic. Right up my alley. Visuals, fantastic. Soundtrack, could have used a few more unique tracks, but other than that, fantastic. And my only real niggle with the game, no voice acting. But honestly, dear viewers, Demon's School is one of my absolute favorite video games that I played this year. And hell, it might even make my top 10. So if you're a fan of Persona video games, RPGs, and you somehow haven't played this game, then rectify that right now. Therefore, I declare that Demon's School is bloody fantastic. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, my review for Demon's School. If you enjoyed this little review of mine, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't enjoyed it, well then feel free to give me a thumbs down. But please remember the single most important thing I always tell you, dear viewer, and that is to always stay obsessed with gaming. Are you still here? Oh, you must have really enjoyed this video then. In that case, you had better subscribe to the channel and check out our other content. Otherwise, you're a booby pants, and no one wants to be a booby pants.